Hi everybody, my name is Valério and I'm going to present the paper Facilitating the Generation of Parametric Questions and Their Export to Moodle. This is a joint work with Professors Zampiroli, Pimentel and Braga. We are all from UFABC Brazil and this research was supported by FAPESP. I will first explain what motivated us to develop this method. Then we'll see the steps of our methodology, how to prepare, use and modify questions in the MCTest platform, how to create a bank of questions on MCTest. Nowadays it includes these formats, but here we'll present two, icon and XML. We recall that XML enables the inclusion of categories. Afterwards we'll describe experiments and draw conclusions. And finally, you'll see our plans of future works. On Moodle, we can create a quiz with variations through calculated question type. In this case, one must introduce at least one random variable called the wildcard. For instance, here I choose add an activity and then quiz or questioner, and start writing each question on this editor. You can also export the questions bank to Moodle, which allows for several formats. My preferred one is XML. Here's the example of a question with a wildcard. When the quiz is ready, each student will visualize the question with a different value here. They will have to solve the question and write the answer in this box. One can either opt for automatic feedback or leave Moodle's correction to be made after the activity's deadline. But Moodle's calculated question is rather limited. It can only use mathematical functions in PHP. That's why we decided to adapt an open source system available on GitHub, namely MCTest. With MCTest, we can write questions in LaTeX, and they include parameters processed by an associated Python code. The parameters include variables, operations, keywords from a list, which will all change the question's statement. This produces up to thousands of variations of the same quiz. Hence, the repetition of a question statement is practically impossible. At our university, we have been accessing MCTest and their adaptations at two addresses. This one for developers and this one for users. Here you can see how to write, modify, and visualize a question on MCTest. Every time you generate a question, values will change. Notice that I could embed the sum in the statement by means of a single left and right dollar symbol. That's okay for MCTest, but not for Moodle, which unfortunately in this case won't interpret it as a mathematical formula. Hence we need to know Moodle's limitations at using LaTeX on MCTest to produce a question bank. We have adapted MCTest to prepare question banks in several formats, but our paper focuses on icon and XML. I'll show how to do it with a quiz for my students. Here I selected 3 questions from a large data bank maintained and shared by professors at our institution. Of course, some I have written myself, others copied, renamed and adapted to my course. Personally, I always use categories, hence my preferred format is XML. As we remarked in our paper, on MC Test a category is called topic. Here you're gonna see how to create a question bank step by step. So with all details that I just briefly explained in this video. This is the way you're gonna see them on Moodle, the categories. For example, this is the way that a question from MC Test will appear on Moodle. For each question, MC Test stores its corresponding answer key in the XML file. Namely, our method enables us to use Moodle's automatic correction. It's because MC Test computes question alternatives and answer keys from their embedded Python codes. Now we discuss an experiment described in our paper. I lectured networks and communication for 2 classes in 2020, with 45 students in the morning and 46 in the evening. They were unified on Moodle and MC Test, though there are only 91. I choose a much higher number of variations. In order to preclude repetition, MC Test generates the question bank in XML and sends it to my institutional email. For instance, this question asks for the cost of the minimal spanning tree of a weighted graph given by its symmetric connection matrix. We have 15 entries, each of them a random integer between 1 and 9, hence a total of 9 power 15, namely more than 200 tera different questions. And this is the way you see one of them on Moodle. In this case, I didn't add alternatives. Because students also had to hand draw their solutions and send them to me through a Google form, which allows for uploading files. Also, I prefer to use the best of several platforms. Moodle for static teaching material, YouTube for dynamic material, Zoom for live lectures, and MC Test for class evaluations. Regarding future works, we plan to include and adapt some capabilities of Moodle, adding more information about each question through labeling it, especially the ones the students have already answered. For this purpose, we could resort to multi-agent systems, IRT, and recommendation systems. If you have any questions, please contact us through these emails. Thanks for watching. Bye.